Dude, check this out. Look what I got.
A whoopee cushion?
Yeah.
That's not gonna work.
No, come on. This is gonna be great. Remember how fun these used to be?
Okay. Yeah. No. See, this is not working.
No, it's fine. Just lean on it.
No, it's not gonna work, man.
Why didn't you say that before?
I did say so before.
Hey guys,
Oh, hey.
you guys
Hey.
are not prepared.
The
what
Walking
we're doing?
Dead.
Walking Dead.
Oh my God.
You
that's
guys used to see the
crazy.
show,
This is
but trust
crazy.
me, it is completely different.
Anyway,
from
hurry
the
up. Sit
comic.
down. Let's
All
get this
right,
going.
Here we go.
Forever. I want to get into it.
Oh, sorry.
Come on.
Whoopee cushion. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not as
insane.
funny as it was when we were kids, but
well, probably not.
That'll
Yeah.
be fine. Anyway, we're doing The Walking Dead.
I'm not really feeling it, you guys. I'm just gonna go. I'll see you guys later.
Oh,
Okay.
All right.
I guess. Yeah, I guess we'll shoot next week.
Yeah, I guess. See ya.
That was weird. You know, maybe he's got a stomach bug or something.
Yeah, maybe. You think there's a whoopee cushion?
No.
Think he freaked him
No.
out or something?
No,
right?
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back Issues of Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben.
Today we're doing Marville from Bill Jemas and Mark Bright. This sucks on toast. It's the worst thing ever. It's arguably the worst comic book ever made.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a
Yikes.
claim and a half.
It is indeed, and I think it earns it.
I
Well-
mean, the cover does not do it justice.
Now, okay, so there's a lot to unpack about Marville. How much do you know about Marville?
Nothing?
Oh boy. Well, in 2003, the president of Marvel Comics was a guy named Bill Jemas. And alongside Joe Quesada, the two of them fished Marvel out of the toilet bowl and saved the company by auctioning off IPs to movie studios, cementing the MCU, but also dooming the X-Men and Spider-Man into diminishing returns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they also produced things like the Ultimate Universe, Marvel Knights, and a host of other ideas that had grown out of that idea.
Marvel Knights was cool.
All of those things were cool. Like, undisputedly, there were a lot of really good ideas that came from the Jemas-Quesada team-up. And Jemas himself is not a newcomer to Marvel. He came in during the Flare Ultra era when Marvel was canoodling with card companies and just trying in any way to be relevant. Now, don't forget also that the main players at Marvel, the executives that is, Avi Arad and Ike Perlmutter, are toy biz people. They came from the toy industry, and they themselves acquired executive positions at the company. And Arad and Jemas really wanted to get into the movie business, and they thought that Marvel was their ticket to stardom. And one of them was right.
Kinda?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
and
was.
one of them managed to do it. And that was, of course, Avi Arad, who you know only from reputation for being all of the bad decisions about any Spider-Man movie you've ever seen.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to need Venom in this movie.
Right.
Or, yeah, I'm going to need a Venom universe of movies. Or have you thought about Venom before? Because I was there when he was invented, or at the very least I was there when he was exploited to a degree where he was unprofitable.
Never seen before in Marvel's history.
That's right. Bill Jemas, of course, became president of Marvel at a time when Marvel couldn't have been lower. It had filed for bankruptcy, and they were restructuring.
He was out on the streets being like, come on, man, I'll print you a comic for $0.25.
Yeah, I'll spin you a superhero yarn. Give me a freaking $1, please, or a cheese sandwich. Marvel's turning tricks in back alleys, just desperately trying to maintain relevancy. And just for comparison's sake, Warner Brothers has been acquired by AOL. AOL Time Warner.
Man.
That was a thing that happened.
Bing, you've got shit.
It didn't really affect the comic books, really, but it did affect Bill Jemas' mind, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But the point is, Bill Jemas is a controversial figure, not unlike Jim Shooter, but the difference is when Jim Shooter wrote a comic book, it sold. And when Bill Jemas wrote a comic book, it was the worst comic book ever made.
No, I can do this. I can totally do this. I'm the president of the company.
There is a letter he writes that's in this book that essentially says, well, I'm the company president. I don't give a shit about sales or anything.
Right.
I get to do things like this.
Not wrong.
Well, I mean, not wrong, but also, you should have the self-restraint to not do that.
Yeah.
Especially when you get
Stay in
into
your
what
lane.
this is.
Right.
Jemas had a lot of really good ideas, like bringing in Joe Quesada, who was like, let's poach Vertigo for talent. And I'm like, what a good idea. Anybody could have had that idea. But at least Joe Quesada had it
Right.
and implemented the damn thing. Jemas had really, really, I think arguably poor, but it's really subjective aesthetic ideas. He also was integrally involved in the story process across the board with every book. He was like, okay, what are you doing? He was what you might call a micromanager.
Not in a good way, I'm
in
assuming.
a terrible way, but also,
Usually
Like,
not
he
good.
wasn't
Usually
keeping the
micromanaging.
storylines together
yeah,
like an editor
micromanaging
would.
isn't typically a complimentary moniker that you want. He famously or infamously suggested to Mark Waid, writer of the Fantastic Four at the time, that we need to get the Fantastic out of the Four. Move them from their, ivory tower into the suburbs.
Oh.
So they would just be the Four?
Well, they'd still be the Fantastic Four, but it'd be ironic, they live in a two-story colonial, and Sue Storm can be a receptionist.
Hilarious.
And Wade was like, that sucks, and then tried to do it and then was fired. And he was like, that's fine, bye. These are the kinds of $1 million ideas that Bill Jemas would implement.
Right.
He also had a real problem about covers. Why are these covers so busy? Metaphorically or literally demonstrating the inside of the comic book on the outside.
We want them to buy it before they can see what's going on inside.
Yeah, he was very much influenced by magazine covers and pinups. And so that's why the Ultimate Suite was often so simple and stark. For the first, I want to say 25 issues or more, Ultimate Spider-Man was just, how about a picture of Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Literally just that.
Very simple,
Just
yeah.
picture of Spider-Man doing some kind of thing. Maybe
Not
Doc
too
It
Ock.
looked
no.
like Time magazine.
Right. This comic book should look like a periodical at the airport. When he finally got the chance to do his own comic book, he implemented that hard when it came to these awful Greg Horn exploitation covers.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He also was controversial for other aspects. I heard a story from Tom Brevoort in which he was upset one day about how bad the comics were selling, and so he had a stack of them, and he just pitched them at people in a meeting.
What?
And one of them hit one of his female writers in the head.
Oh my
and
God.
she immediately went to HR and was like, I can't work like this.
Yeah.
And they
He's
were like,
throwing stuff.
Right. And HR was like, you have to apologize to this woman. And his response was, hey, don't be a dick about this, please. And she quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's a hostile work environment.
Yeah, but it's
You're
Marvel,
literally having
so
to dodge things being thrown at you.
right, exactly. Look at their Glassdoor reviews.
You can dodge a comic, you can dodge a lawsuit.
So Bill Jemas' idea of doing Marville came from his ego, which is expansive.
Yeah.
Like the living planet itself. It had its own gravitational pull. Peter David wrote a book called Captain Marvel, and Jemas was like, all right, any of our low-selling books, we're going to increase the price by 25 cents. And I love
What?
I love it because he's like, we got to increase the price. to offset how much we're losing making these books.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And
because anyone that does buy them is still going to buy them.
Exactly.
And we can get more out of
that
them.
was the, and that's the
That must have
mentality.
been what he
And like,
thought, yeah.
and as a business owner, I'm like, I get what you were saying. Peter David, who has been in the industry longer than Bill Jemas and has a hand in the inner workings of the industry itself, I would trust his judgment, especially in like 2002. But at the same time, I get both sides. But Peter David said, if you increase the price by 25 cents, the book will be canceled. Like, it will be unpalatable to readers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 25 cents? In 2001 too? No.
Well, but the thing is, you'll see it,
Yes.
right? And be like, why is it 25 cents
Right.
more?
And then if you had
Based on what?
Based on business. The market.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is the comic
But what are
industry,
you doing to make it worth 25 more cents?
It exists. I'm writing it.
I want it more.
You want to read a book called Captain Marvel? You better shell out a little more. And I'm sorry, that's just the nature of the business. If they had any ability, and by the way, they do of course have that, but just choose not to. But the ability to communicate any inner workings of their industry, it's great because actually the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. Because if Marvel deigned to communicate with its audience, and if the audience deigned to give a shit about how the comic book industry works, we would actually have some effing communication going and maybe a frank exchange of ideas.
Yeah, just tell people.
Just tell people.
Yeah.
And Peter David did on his blog. And that rubbed Jemas the wrong way.
In 2001.
2001 too, yes.
Yeah.
And so Bill Jemas was like, all right, Peter David, if you know so much about the comic book industry, I'm going to engineer a little contest. That will be how I communicate with the audience. Will be through this juvenile contest called You, the letter U, Decide. And You Decide will be, we're going to make 3 comic books. You're Captain Marvel. And we're going to relaunch it with a number 1. That way it gets the best foot forward. And it'll have the most eyeballs on it. Another book called Ultimate Adventures. And my book, Marville. And whatever book after 6 issues sells the most wins. And will actually be published after 6 issues. And will cancel the other 2.
Okay.
Didn't you just create the other 2 other than Captain Marvel anyway?
Yeah, but I also wanted an excuse to make my own book and proselytize, which
Right.
I will do heavily.
And I know for a fact that it's going to win big.
Right, because I'm such a smart motherfucker.
Yeah. Well,
And
because I'm going to cover it in naked women who just
yeah,
have clothes
well,
painted on them.
This is absolutely just unadulterated, pure Bill Jemas vision. This is Bill Jemas unrestrained. And it's just like, oh, that sucks. Ultimate Adventures, Marville, ding, and Captain Marvel, of course, lasted 25 issues. Like it one-handedly.
Right.
And by
Because
issue
it's actually a comic.
yeah, and by issue 3 of Marville, he changed the nature of the contest. And now the loser gets like a pie in the face. And we like donate some money to charity.
But also the run keeps going.
Yes. And so Ultimate Adventures was canceled. Marville limped along for technically 7 issues, and we'll talk about why later. and Captain Marvel was the clear winner because it was the only goddamn Marvel comic book being published of the 3. And it had an audience.
Right.
That,
A built-in audience who likes that character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, that was a stupid
a terrible-
contest for him to make.
yeah, it was just
Like, you were never going to win that.
you were never going to win that. And so he began with Marville. Now, what's great is, okay, I get it. Bill Jemas, you're a smart guy, you're educated, and you're the president of the company, which means you overinflate your value and your intelligence because you're like, well, obviously, if I'm the president,
I must
I'm
be
the
the smartest guy.
person in the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. How else did I get here?
Yeah, exactly.
Answer me that.
Answer me that.
No,
and my
you
brilliant,
can't.
and my
That's why
brilliant
I'm so
business
smart.
decisions was what got that happen.
Yep.
Like he was involved in the untangling of the legal web that held Spider-Man up in movie rights for decades. So I mean, cool, good for you.
Yeah, but you lost him.
Right, but you also signed a contract that said, in perpetuity throughout the known universe until the dawn of time, when it like loops back around, will Sony have Spider-Man? Like, what the heck? Who's you know who signs that contract? A genius. It doesn't stop there. It's not like this delicate genius is like, we get the manifesto, don't worry. Like this guy goes full diva in this book, but also is like, let me see if I can dig a hole with my competition / colleagues. Like, it's not enough that you're like, I'm Bill Jemas, smartest guy in the room. Here is my magnum opus. Also, I want to take pot shots and digs directly at DC Comics. I'm just going to attack my betters.
Right.
Is that why this says the DCC cab?
Yes. Well, also because you remember that movie DC Cab? Yeah, timely reference. Lol. Yes. It is very much about DC Comics and about maybe Bill Jemas' envy of them, but it's weird. There's a lot, like, this is the room of comic books. And I say that because there's a lot to unpack. Like, once you scratch the surface, you're like, oh, this is saying a lot about this guy. The book wasn't originally called Marville, but it became that when Bill Jemas was like, I want to take a shot at that show that had already started airing, Smallville.
That successful show.
I
Yes.
never would have predicted that was
Where
that name
the
came from.
genesis of
now
Marvel-
it makes sense, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once you see the actual front cover of the first issue of Marville, you're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah, but why?
Why indeed? You're going to be asking yourself that question a lot. Thankfully, Bill Jemas provides a context page, which Marvel is famous
Oh,
for.
all right.
This thing explains the joke in
Okay.
excruciating detail. He says there's a few things you need to know about comic books and the real world to get the inside jokes at Marville. This guy thinks
Yikes.
that this book, in the direct market in 2003, is going to sell to people who don't read comic books because of the marketing
Well, look what he
geniuses of
put
the
on the
covers.
cover. Yeah.
So-
Who's not going to want to pick that
So I need to tell them the jokes so that they get them.
Exactly. They need to know who the players are. You're not selling to the Tom, Dick, and Harrys that pick up comic books for the first time ever an irreverent, subversive takedown of a competition they're not aware exists. But he's like, all right, so I'm explaining to you how superheroes work and how they're merchandising empires. This is who Peter Parker is, who Spider-Man is, and you need to understand who Kal-El, Superman is as well. Because you have no frame of reference
But you
for
can't
Superman's
put him in this
origin.
book, though.
Oh, I did. Kal-El's parents placed him in a rocket ship before they were killed in an explosion of the planet Krypton. Now as Superman, he fights for the truth, justice, and the American way.
What?
That's fascinating. I bet no one ever saw that movie with what's-his-face in it.
Oh, yeah, no. Certainly not.
Isn't that some sort of violation of
No, Superman's a
copyright
public
or
figure. He's a
something?
character that exists. I'm just explaining who that is.
Okay.
Right?
And I'm not showing him in my book.
No, he doesn't appear in the book,
Oh.
but parodies of him do. Marvel's distinguished competition, this is what they used to refer to DC as because it was DC,
Right.
is run by a man named Paul Levitz, who fights a never-ending battle to keep his business obscure.
Oh my God.
Just straight up goes across the fence and goes, hey, yeah, fuck you. Whoa.
I'm gonna put this in print.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
wow. Hey, you know who sucks?
DC and specifically Paul Levitz. This is in spite of the fact that he owns Superman and Batman, who are the most iconic and recognizable superheroes of all time.
And even with all that under his belt, he still is failing as a company.
Yes.
Ugh.
Which, methinks thou doth protest too much. Now his point is that Marvel doesn't have a parent company. Like DC doesn't have to be good or innovative because they have a parent company.
Right.
And it's AOL. LOL. Because how pathetic and sad is that? That's literally
You went bankrupt. You ran out of money.
Yeah, they're owned by they had been owned by Warner Brothers, one of the top studios in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yes, it was purchased by AOL, but AOL was a titan at the time.
Yeah, but they don't even make entertainment.
Yes.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I guess at that time that wasn't necessarily that common.
Yeah.
But now that's so normal that it looks like really lame to make fun of that.
Absolutely. No, it is
Like Comcast owns friggin' NBC.
exactly.
You know,
What are you talking about? You need to know who Ted Turner is.
What?
And you know who's to blame for all of our problems? Jane Fonda.
What? Because she's like a traitor or whatever. Because she went to Vietnam, to North
and she
Vietnam.
helped the Viet Cong. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, I haven't heard
That's so
anyone
funny.
blame Jane Fonda for anything since the 90s.
Yeah.
Which, of course, this book is just coming out of. But,
Right.
no. Also, he wants to make fun of the Atlanta Braves because they're owned by Ted Turner.
Right. They are.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And, oh, by the way, in Marville, like this is a place, any similarities between the comic book characters and real world people is for fun. We're just having a laugh.
It's intentional,
Like,
and it's for fun.
He is,
Especially when I name people in the
and
real
call
world.
them out and tell them that they're failing at their business. Like, you know what he is? He is the predecessor to a internet douche nozzle who's like, I'm gonna tap that old man in the balls, and then does and goes, it's a prank, bro. Like, that's it? That's your whole defense,
Oh, come on, it's just a prank.
right?
We're just having fun.
Just having
What
fun.
are you
It's all
mad
for
about?
fun.
Are you mad?
So we meet Ted Turner and Jane Fonda, and they're married, and they
What?
live in the future, and
The same ones?
yeah.
Clearly not.
These are
Ethan.
parody versions of them who
Oh.
are named Ted Turner and Jane Fonda.
Right. Well, it's
Yeah.
3,000 years in the future. They have to be different.
There's
right.
no similarity between those names and the names of the people who live in our world.
Yeah. They live on a planet called AOLon.
Okay.
God damn it.
Like Krypton, only it's AOL because it's
Right.
from DC.
Sure.
And so they're not sure what to do because these asteroids are coming and they're destroying their planet, or at least that's what Ted Turner thinks is going to happen. So he gives his wife an Atlanta Braves cap to protect herself from it. That doesn't help. They go outside. They proclaim they're going to do what they can to save this world. And what they need to do in order to help make the world safer and better is to do the chop.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Remember the
Braves
chop?
Yes.
The
yeah,
Braves,
that they do
yeah.
at the Braves, at the games, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
One of them protests because that's stupid, and he's hit by a meteorite and dies.
Oh, so he's wrong. That is a good idea.
That's what I'm saying.
Look, he said we shouldn't do it, and then he was smoked down by an
Yeah,
asteroid.
do it all the more.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yep. And then one person mentions that it's actually inappropriate for them to do the chop, and he is also hit by a meteorite.
Naturally.
Ha ha ha.
Yes, of course.
So they go inside, and they're like, we need to save our son. His name is Kal-El.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
AOL
I
is-
saw it. When you were
hilarious.
mentioning how they were talking about AOL, it's like, oh, Cal AOL, great.
Yeah. I do have a time machine. So I'm going to put Kal-El into the time machine and send him to the past where he can live out his life and have a great time. They also have a dog, and the dog is old and farts a lot, and it's also named like AOL Stro, like Astro from the Jetsons.
Oh.
And he goes with him. So Kal-El goes into the past, and they realize, like, oh, we're fine. It's actually not going to destroy our reality, but we sent him in the past anyway.
Oh.
Oh, no, we've
The
already
asteroid
sent him.
stopped.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just a slight meteor shower.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't even need to send him.
No, isn't that hilarious? So Kal-El like wanders.
Honey, our son is really bumming me out. Can't we just send him to the past?
Right?
Let's pretend that the world's
that's
gonna
exactly
die.
what that is. I mean, like, he's a loser, 18-year-old. He's an 18-year-old.
Right,
Who's
they
living at
all
home.
suck.
He's a stupid 18-year-old who sucks and reads comics.
Yeah, what a loser. Can you imagine a reality in which someone who's over the age of 18 who can't afford their own place? So Kal-El ends up in our time, and someone asks him if he's a superhero. And he says, no, but my dad knows Paul Levitz. And it's just like, can you imagine being Paul Levitz and reading this tripe and being like,
Yeah.
what does that even mean? Like,
What?
just being confused and upset, like, by
Yeah.
how confused you are. Kal-El assumes that he, now having been sent to the past, has superpowers because he's a dimwit. That's it.
Oh.
He's in
Marvel universe,
He's in
or
the
he's
Marvel
in our
uni-
world.
he's in the
Okay.
Marvel
So there are
universe.
heroes and stuff.
There are, but there are also stereotypes and
Oh.
parodies and send-ups.
Right. Okay.
Kal-El and AOL Stro, and I hate saying it, and I'm going to hate it in an hour
Yep.
from now. But they wander into the street. They almost get hit by a cab driver named Mickey, who's a hot woman that is going to join his confederacy of dunces. And so that he gets in the cab. He tries to pay her, but he's got a credit card from the future, so it doesn't work.
Right.
And so they go to the bank, and it's really dumb.
What's he gonna do at the bank?
Right.
You don't have an account there, man.
The worst is they use his card, and they realize that the card, he has an account, and there's a lot of money in it, but it won't be open for 3,000 years. And I'm like, how would he know that?
That
How
doesn't
does
make
that
any
work?
sense.
Like,
What?
it doesn't make any sense.
No.
And they say,
No, I can tell that there's going to be an account in the future.
Yeah.
Our computer has future. Travels through time.
It's a quantum computer.
Yeah.
But he says, no, the account has a lot of money in it, and you can't access it for 3,000 years, but here is the money, and you can't have it. Like, it's just a bag with
What?
money on it.
Okay.
but like fake money because
Right.
it's from the future.
Right.
I'd love it if that's just a bit that this guy is doing,
Right.
which is like, oh no, of course, this card, yeah, no, there's an account in the
Yeah.
future, and you're rich. Oh, and here it is. Here's all your money,
Yeah.
but you can't have it yet.
I mean, that is what happens, but he's not kidding. And oh, by the way, it is also Alan Greenspan. Like literally,
What?
the bank teller is also Alan Greenspan.
Because that's like a name that
That
Jemas
deals with money
knows,
and
yeah.
Jemas is aware of. So he has the bag of money.
but
that
it's
he
all
can't-
it's not related to anyone in our world.
No, but it definitely is, and I'm trying to say something, but God help me if I could articulate what it is. And so that bag of money is stolen by a thief. They give Kal-El a toaster because,
Oh,
when you open an account, you get a toaster.
Did
but
he open
doesn't-
an account?
No, but he's in the bank.
if you walk through the doors, you get a toaster.
That's right. So we assume that Kal-El is going to stop this thief, a la Spider-Man, or maybe he won't, and he'll learn a
Right.
valuable lesson. But instead, neither of those things happen, and the thief slips on drool from
From
the
the dog.
dog.
Yeah. Aolostro?
Aolstro.
Yeah.
And so when Kal-El meets up with the thief and Aolstro, the police who are responding to that situation say, you did a great thing by stopping this thief, and we reward our good Samaritans, so take the money that you won't be entitled to for 3,000 years that he stole, here it is.
Okay.
It was a bag of money.
Yes. With
Yeah.
like future scripture on it. He has $100 million
What?
in that bag.
I like a nice round number.
That's right.
Okay.
So he takes his $100 million and he continues to walk with Mickey.
I get the feeling the bank has a problem with this.
No, it's okay because that's actually a reward that is given for being a good Samaritan in this universe.
Right.
It just happens to also coincide with the bag. It's not. So they go to Mickey's apartment, and Kal-El still wants to. He harbors these grandiose ideas about being a superhero, but he can't because he's just some guy.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you're rich. It's fine.
Right.
Yep.
You're just from the future. You don't have superpowers.
Yeah.
Do you have any technology from your time that would be like superpowered stuff, like booster gold?
No, but also
Oh.
like you. Okay. I appreciate that like we're treating this like it's a normal comic book, and that we're like making up concepts.
Oh, we're trying to find problems with it, but it's just insane.
The dialogue betrays how simple and dumb this book is.
Right.
And how there is no depth,
Yeah.
there is no subtext, there is nothing here to help you.
Right. It's just a bunch of stuff that happens.
Like here is a sequence between Kal-El and his father, Ted Turner, before he gets into the time machine.
Keeps cracking me up.
He says, you also need to wear this special time travel suit. Sure, but what's Marvel? You see, son, Dad's comic company, because Ted Turner, DC Comics, sucked, and they couldn't make a decent comic book. So I had to buy Marvel. The only problem was the two total dunces named Joe and Bill, Joe Quesada and Bill Jemas, ha ha ha. Oh, look, see? No one's immune to
Right,
my
I'm making fun of
razor-sharp
myself.
wit. Got to cash in their options and make a fortune. But then your father put Uncle Paul in charge of Marvel, Uncle Paul Levitz. And because Uncle Paul Levitz was in charge of Marvel in this cracked mirror reality, Marvel became insolvent and garbage.
Right.
He says, but Dad, no one ever heard of Marvel. What the heck did Uncle Paul do? And then they send him back in the past. Like, it's just not even worth getting into any depth. Like, Mickey and Kal-El. First of all, his name is Kal-El, and it makes me angry every time I say it. But, like, Mickey and Kal-El. We introduce Mickey. She almost hits him with the car. That's kind of like a meet cute. It's a thing that is in convention. It's a trope, and it's really it's tired.
Yeah.
But it exists, and you could use it.
Right, it's an example.
Right, and Kal-El may have designs on Mickey, romantically.
Right.
She rebuffs him, and it never comes up again, and it's not a factor.
Oh.
There is no development between the two of them, but Kal-El continues to like mooch off of her, despite the fact that he has hundreds of millions of dollars in a sack.
Right.
So Kal-El and Mickey are like, well, we need to change scenes. So they're going to go see a Broadway show. And so they go into an alley to go ask a scalper for tickets. What they find is that the thief that slipped on the dog drool from before,
Right.
now he's shaking down the scalper. So they're like, oh no. And the thief says, it's me with a knife. because it's inspired dialogue.
Right.
Cal AOL, in a feat of skills he has not displayed and will never display again, dispatches and disarms the thief.
Oh.
And then they get their tickets, they go into the theater, they are immediately kicked out because they brought a dog with them. And when they go back outside, they bump back into the same thief, but this time he identifies himself with a gun. So then he tries to get their money, they don't have any, he chases after the dog into an alley, slips on that dog's drool yet again, and there is another group of people and police, and they're like, hey, you got him again. Here's another bag of reward money.
What?
Now you have $200 million.
Where did that one come from?
That's the
I
money we
understand where
carry
the
around for Good Samaritans.
Right. Totally makes
So
sense.
Jane Fonda and Ted Turner in the future realize they've sent their son into the past for no good reason. What are we going to do? How are we going to help him? And so they send him clean underwear from the future.
Okay. Yeah.
And that
he's gonna need clean
is
underwear.
the end of the first issue. That's what happens in the first issue. There's 7 of these. Mickey and Cal, they like live in New York and they just try to exist. Cal is obsessed with becoming a superhero. Mickey keeps raining on his parade, being like, you don't have powers, you can't be a superhero, also you're an idiot.
You're also not smart like Tony Stark.
That's right. Well, you're not smart like anything. You can't literally do anything. You're nobody. And so...
Although you are a multimillionaire.
Yes, that's true. They run into a vagrant in the park. He's a homeless person, but that homeless person is Peter David.
What?
Oh, by the way, I should point out that Peter David also was like, don't raise the price of my book, and I will take a pay cut
Oh wow.
to maintain the book because I don't want to get fired off the book because I know I will be if the book raises in price.
Because people won't buy it.
Right. And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredibly noble.
And let's make fun of him by calling him a homeless person.
And he's just begging people for quarters.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
he took a pay cut, so I guess he wants to live on the street.
Yeah.
Loser.
Yep. Also, Rush Limbaugh is in the park, and he's just hanging out there, and there's people there like who are talking about he's farting.
Okay. Why is everybody in bikinis?
Because it's a beautiful day at the park, and because Bill Jemas is telling you that sex sells. Like this
Right.
book, people might not necessarily care about what they're saying, especially because I'm such a horrible writer. But if they see all these like half-naked people, maybe they'll be interested.
Right.
Especially the fat ones with speedos.
Right. Ha 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 ha.
So Cal AOL just starts giving people money because he's a good guy, and
Right.
no one knows what to do, and there's no story.
Yeah.
So Mickey and Cal AOL get into a cab. She is a cabbie, but she's not being one right now. And so they get into a cab, and it is drawn by a horribly depicted Judd Hirsch from Taxi.
Oh, from the show.
From the show Taxi.
Right.
Because Bill Jemas
Okay.
remembers that show.
Right.
That's
So
what
relevant
people
in
want. They want references to
2002.
Taxi.
Got to get these references. So they arrive at their destination, which is nowhere. Just wherever. Just
Right.
They need to be on a street corner now. So they are on a street corner. And so Cal just starts handing out $500 to like whoever will put their hand out.
You should have like a contest where like
Yeah,
you
whoever's
keep your
the most
hand
deserving.
on the money, you get to keep it or
Yeah.
something.
Or he picks 3 different most deserving people, and they'll all produce something
Yeah.
for the money.
Right.
And
only
whoever-
one of them gets it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then when the person you don't want to get it starts to win, you change the nature of the contest.
Wow, who would do such a shitty thing?
So then Batman shows up.
Oh.
And he just starts beating the hell out of people because Batman beats up poor people.
But this
Right.
this is Marvel.
Well, that's why he has 3 ears instead of 2.
Right.
You know, he's legally
not
distinct from Batman.
Right. He's not actually Batman.
Yeah.
He's a man dressed as Bat.
Right, but he's...
Is that not actually Iron Man?
Oh, no, well, this is a Marvel Comics. That can literally be Iron Man.
Oh.
But Iron Man and Batman are both billionaires, and
Right.
this is how they deal with the poor.
Right.
They beat the hell out of them, or they vaporize them into skeletons.
Yep.
I mean, that is kind of accurate.
Right? Then Black Panther shows up because he's also a billionaire.
Oh yes.
And they beat the crap out of people because that's what they do. They don't
Just
understand.
people that are just standing around.
That's right. Yeah.
These are your own characters. Why are you doing this?
I agree. Then Iron Man almost drops the N-bomb in front of Black Panther because it's funny. Also, he does it at the expense of making fun of Mexican people.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
And the point that he's making, if there is one to be made, which
Right.
there isn't, is that they almost said a bad word in this comic book, and that would be the problem. Because these comic books can't ever say anything deeper than a superficial watch these, like, as he calls them, underwear on the outside of their pants characters beat the hell out of each other. Because also, Bill Jemas is like a self-loathing president of this company and hates these characters.
I don't even want to be into comics. I hate them.
Oh, I
Yes.
get it, everyone. I know how stupid and lame these things are. I'm with you.
Mickey tries to like reason with Batman, Black Panther, and Iron Man, and basically say, like, you guys are billionaires. You could solve all the world's problems if you just like donated your money and put it into programs. And then Rush Limbaugh shows up with his like magical microphone and identifies them all as liberals and blasts Iron Man, Black Panther, and Batman.
Why is Rush Limbaugh in this book?
Because Bill Jemas wants to talk about him.
In a positive light?
It's hard to tell. Like, he has been depicted as like a farting, half-naked fat guy, so probably not. He also makes fun of him for being deaf, because of course at that time Rush Limbaugh was alive and half deaf.
Right. Yeesh.
So confusing.
So then the police show up because like a crime has been committed, I guess, and they run into a pretty police officer.
Yeah, but it looks like they're not arresting any of the superheroes.
Oh no.
No.
That's right. We know they arrested the people those superheroes beat up.
Right.
It's really insightful.
Yeah.
So Lucy, the police officer, joins their troop.
What?
She's just like part of the cast now.
Is this like they just are magnetic personalities and people are just drawn to them? And, hey,
Yes.
you, I'm on board.
So she's in the book now.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And so
And now she's wearing that, I guess.
well, because she's impersonating a sex worker. The idea is that
she's undercover.
She's undercover. That's
Right.
right.
Okay.
So they're going to try and solicit information from people to take down the Kingpin, because that's what a superhero would do, and that's Kal-El-L's dream.
So these police officers are working with these civilians.
Yes.
Because he wants to be a superhero.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
like, okay, you could tag along
Uh-huh.
on our undercover operation.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, they go undercover, they get like arrested, they go to jail, they are bailed out by Matt Murdock, who is a character that Bill Jemas has carte blanche to use. But he's also an idiot, and he like tries to flirt with Mickey but can't because she's not interested. And he proceeds to try and articulate his like hypocrisy of being a lawyer while being a superhero, but also by like Bill Jemas wants to say that lawyers are stupid and terrible and they don't
Right.
actually help the criminal justice system.
Everyone loves a good lawyer joke.
Exactly.
It'd be perfect.
But Matt Murdock does identify that the Kingpin is the real problem behind all the actual crime they have, and that's like
Which crime?
The crime
That one
in,
thief?
Crime in general.
Oh,
no,
all
the
crime.
story's over.
Oh.
Just as quickly as we didn't talk
What
about it.
crimes have occurred in this book?
This book is terrible.
No crime. You know, all the
When
crime.
Batman and Iron Man and Black Panther showed up, they are identifying that like they think the crime is these poor people, let's beat the crap out of them, but real crime is like billionaires and corporate overlords and stuff like that.
The corporations.
And yeah, and also like true white collar criminals as well.
Right.
And so, but we can't use a comic book to talk about that because I sell superhero comic books.
Right.
And so we see like regular people in the form of Kal-El and Lucy and Mickey, and they do their best to try and like subvert that system by being heroes in their own right, but not by doing anything or saying that in any way. But that's what the story is trying to convey.
I see.
And that's why they bump into Matt Murdock, who we all know is Daredevil, but doesn't become Daredevil in the story, because we have to cut to Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's here and he's helping an old lady across the street, because
He's helping old man
That's
across
what he
the
does.
street.
Yeah.
it's not Aunt May, but it is an old lady, and it
Say
looks
old
just.
May?
You did say Old May, but
May.
you know what? That might as well
Screw
be what
it.
she's called. But that's, of course, the kind of black and white heroics that we can demonstrate in our superhero comic book.
Right.
That's all they can do. Is
That's
help
what
old
they
ladies
do,
across the
yeah.
street.
Exactly. So they're trying to find Kingpin, and they identify where Kingpin is by being like, all right, well, there's the Kingpin bowling lanes, lol.
Right.
But behind that is an actual skyscraper that emblazoned across it says Kingpin headquarters. But then Punisher shows up and he tries to kill them because Lucy's dressed as a sex worker because she was going undercover before, but we also want to keep her in that outfit.
Right.
And so they try and convince Frank, like, yo, chill out. He's actually, we're on the level. So
Right.
then he joins them.
Oh,
And then
good.
Spider-Man sneaks through a air duct to get them into the building so they can take down the Kingpin.
Right.
Earlier, when they saw a cop, they identify him as Barney Miller, another timely reference. And then when they get into the Kingpin headquarters, they identify that one guy from The Sopranos. And the running gag of them identifying real people who are also being their counterparts in this universe is that they don't want to be typecast for what they seem to be. These are the jokes, folks. This is Bill Jemas.
No, these aren't jokes.
No, that's the
No,
thing.
they're references,
Nothing is
though.
like it's just things that are happening.
Yeah.
Bill, who hurt you?
Paul Levitz, apparently. So they break into Kingpin's office, and like the two reasonable people, you know, Mickey and Lucy, they just walk through the door. But Kal-El wants to be a superhero, so he crawls through an air vent. But Spider-Man smashes through a window, and Punisher punches in a doorway. And so it's like, oh man. And when they get to Kingpin's office, Kingpin is Spike Lee, the director.
What? Why?
Your guess is as good as mine.
That's weird.
His monologue that he goes off is about how criminals become criminals, and that they're not necessarily to blame for the initial like spark that becomes criminals. And maybe it's some kind of like send up of Spike Lee and the kind of stories he talks about, or maybe he's using Spike Lee as a mouthpiece for his own ideology.
It sounds like he's making fun of Spike Lee.
I mean, definitely he is.
Yeah, it's like Spike Lee thinks that, you know, people aren't responsible for their bad actions, and that it's all, you know, just bad stuff that happened to him, and
Well, and
Right, but
consequences
and that's
of
fine.
things.
Yeah.
Like, do the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it just comes to a head at one point, and everyone's freaking out.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So they leave his office.
what happens in this conversation?
Basically, they say
They're
like,
just like, oh,
they're like,
okay.
you're not the Kingpin, you're Spike Lee, the director. And he says, how come I can't be the Kingpin? And like, because the Kingpin is white and fat. And then Kal-El says, I feel like my life is one long contrived Marvel comic book. And Mickey says, how does that make you feel? And he says, stupid.
Aren't you trying to say that you can write a great comic book, Bill?
Maybe not. Maybe he's like, no, I write terrible comics.
Yep.
Herpader?
There's no way that this is intentional. There's no way this is some kind of secret genius tome that he's using to try and like lampshade how dumb comic books are. But then Ted Turner and Jane Fonda are like, I know how we can send Kal-El back to the future, how we can fix this. And so they send the time machine into the past. So now
They put it inside another time machine?
Nope, it just sends itself. So they send the time machine into the past, and now Kal-El has access to a time machine.
Okay.
By the way, I'm certain that this book is a self-own, in which he's like, I hate this. I hate doing this. I think this is all dumb. Because like we had the Insider's Guide in the first issue, we have to have it in this. And at the end of the issue, in the Marvel Universe, the Kingpin of Crime is nicknamed Kingpin, and it looks like this. It's a picture of Kingpin. That way you know what the joke was.
Right.
But,
Oh, well, okay. No, I get it now. That's
he
the
looks totally
Kingpin.
different.
Because that's totally not
He's
that.
like the
Oh,
opposite.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah, this is a genius.
perfect.
Matt Murdock is a blind lawyer who dresses up at night like this. And it's just a picture of Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah.
Batman, Black Panther, and Iron Man are all billionaire superhero crime fighters. Peter David writes comic books and doesn't have a lot of fans. Rush Limbaugh talks on the radio and does have a lot of fans. So let's try to unpack this Rush Limbaugh, Peter David analogy for a second.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Rush Limbaugh, conservative. I think it's fair to say Peter David, probably liberal. Or at least not conservative.
Right.
One is a beggar. The other is rich but fat and flagellant.
Right.
Is he trying to be like, no, I'm playing both sides?
Like
Right.
they're both losers?
Right, like
Yeah.
they're both losers but in their own way?
These
except-
ones are losers who won't get a job, and these ones are losers who take advantage of people and lie.
Right, I think that is
And
true.
and one
that
of them
he's
makes
saying
money
that.
for it, and the other one is just lazy and doesn't, you know, and miserable.
Yes.
And Batman, Iron Man, and Black Panther are also losers because they are billionaires and
Right.
can solve the world's problems.
Right, but they
and
don't-
instead they just dress up in silly costumes.
Yes. But also, they are ineffectual because they don't actually solve any problems.
Right. That's his sophisticated takedown of the elite.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then, in the third issue,
What the hell?
Bill Jemas completely abandons the convention of lettering. And the artist, Mark Bright, decides for no reason to digitally paint the rest of the book. But just that issue. And Jemas, emboldened by this, encourages the letterer, Chris Eliopoulos, who, by the way, is a real letterer and does letter the book well, but also is credited in lettering this, and I swear to you, I don't think he did. I think that he did not, but he let them keep his name on it anyway.
So we could cash the paycheck.
Yeah, I think that Bill Jemas lettered this.
No, a Word document lettered this.
Yeah, it's horribly lettered, and also it's illegible, and it's incomprehensible because dialogue is used in here and selective stage directions that should be part of the script.
Like it's a script?
What?
Like it's a script, but also that they're incorrect sometimes.
What? That's nothing.
So Cal buys a big mansion with one of the bags of money, but they still have another $100 million.
Right.
And so Lucy and Mickey move in with Cal.
Oh.
And then, Cal gets like more money. He has another bag.
Oh.
And
Well, I mean, he had 2 bags.
that's true, but he gives away those 2 bags to Mickey and Lucy because he's like, I don't want you to feel indebted to me. So let me show you that you don't owe me anything and that I don't want anything from you by giving you each your own complete fortunes in the form of gigantic, childishly simple numbers. And so they take their bags and they jokingly leave like they're going to abandon him forever, but then come back.
What? What?
Yeah. Then,
Okay.
then God shows up.
No! No!
God himself shows up and presents
Oh.
himself to Lucy as the traditional depiction of like a fatherly, snowy white beard.
He looks like Zeus.
He does
Yeah.
look like Zeus, yeah.
That's just Zeus.
Right. God appears before Kal-El as Superman, essentially.
So are they both looking in the same direction and they see 2 different things?
They're both
Or are
going
these
in,
happening at
looking
2
in different
times?
directions.
Oh.
God is omnipotent and omniscient, as
Right,
he will
he can-
actually say out loud.
Sure.
And so
But
he
he's
can,
actually God in here.
it's God. But he also, when they ask him directly, are you God? He says no or maybe, but also we know he is because the script is printed on the book and it
Right.
says God.
Right. Right. So there's no confusion here.
Then he abandons the snowy white beard and superhero version for the Mickey black man in a business suit version.
Okay.
So he will now portray
What was
himself.
the point of that?
I guess we're just seeing how they see him, you know, how each of them
Oh.
sees God, except that then they all see him as Mickey's version.
Well, I don't want to confuse the reader, you see, by having 3 different versions continually walk
Right.
around throughout the book.
Well, that's very
Yeah,
true.
well, we're done with that now, so let's
Well,
move on
and
to
Mickey
one.
is like, God is not real, and he certainly doesn't look like Superman or like Zeus. So then he's like, well, if that doesn't satisfy you, I'll be this. And he's the black guy in the suit.
Right.
So then they all appear before him in outer space, and he's allowing them to survive, and then drops them in the ocean, and then they swim up on the beach
What? Okay.
because God wants to explain the nature of the universe and what the point of life is.
Because if
To
God
these
says it,
characters.
Yes.
it has to be correct.
That's right. You can't dispute it because that's the God character saying that. So
Oh my.
So this is just him. He's just putting himself in the book so he can.
he can
Monologue.
proselytize at them.
Yeah.
Which he does. So he tells them all to get naked, which they do, and they all get in the ocean. And
What?
yeah, that's right. And God proceeds to explain to Mickey and Lucy and Kal-El,
Well, I don't want your clothes to get wet.
we need to show you naked. We need to push the limit because
Yeah.
Bill Jemas is also instrumental in dropping the Comics Code Authority.
Ah.
Like he's the kind of guy who Tom Brevoort identified as being like kind of like a why not kind of guy. Or
Right.
why, like pushing the envelope.
Yeah, why
You know, like-
do we use
like
the
why do
comics?
we do that? Why
Right.
like why don't we just tell Wolverine's origin? Why do we use the Comics Code? Like why do we have to
Right.
wait for that?
Right.
And it's like that's fair, and it's, I'm
Yeah.
glad that there's somebody out there who's like pushing it.
Right.
But like,
but
but
then
not to
sometimes you
this.
get this.
sometimes, but
Yeah.
yeah, you got to take the good with the bad.
Right.
So God proceeds to, and it's just, fuck you. Like it's him explaining that like God is in everything, and like molecular like transmogrification is the same thing as this, that, and the other. You know, it's just like it's explaining through science how the
Right.
existence of God is possible.
Oh,
That's what I want in my comic books.
Absolutely. In my porno-covered comic.
I know that you're really into science and
Yeah.
superpowers and all these wonderful things. I want you to know it's all because I'm God and I make everything
Well,
possible.
God exists, and also like your belief in science is still valid.
Right.
But
I
I'm-
figured it out. I'm Bill Jemas.
I'm
and
Bill
here to
Jemas, and I
explain
know.
to you
Yeah. And we know that's true.
Your debates are silly.
Yes.
This is how it works.
Because Bill Jemas, when he will be sacked by Marvel, will take his severance money and invest it into a program that reinterprets ancient Aramaic so that he can give you a truer interpretation of the Bible.
Oh.
In real life.
He doesn't want
He's very
to
interested in this.
decode the vampire Bible and become the blood god?
No, he wants to go more in like a Judeo-Christian direction.
Right.
So
okay, so he's really into this stuff.
clearly, because that's what the whole book is mired in. And so, like, he shows them, Mickey doubts them, he takes them with them, they get into the time machine, they go back 30 million years. Then they're like, screw it, we'll go visit the dinosaurs.
Oh, and then the art changes back.
Yeah, Bright abandons the digital coloring and painting and stuff. Goes right back to literal comic books. So they go back to the time of the dinosaurs. They keep calling it Jurassic Park, capital letters. But they don't have an ability to see the date inside the time machine.
Okay.
So they fill Kal-El-L's stupid Marvel shirt that's waterproof with water, and they catch like a ancient fish and they put it in the water with them in the time machine and then watch it evolve, and its evolution will tell them what year they are at.
That doesn't make sense because
They're in the
they
time
would be in the
machine.
time machine and they would also change if the fish was changing.
Absolutely. So they use it and it turns into a dinosaur that can talk because dinosaurs could talk.
Oh, it's Denver.
No, Denver didn't talk though. He was
No,
just
Denver
like,
did not talk. Denver was a more accurate dinosaur.
Yeah, this is
than the
dinosaurs.
dinosaur.
It always comes back to dinosaurs.
That's right.
That's not a dinosaur.
No, it is not.
Well, I guess, but that's because this one talks.
Yeah.
This is one we never found out about.
No, they're in the Jurassic Age, according to God.
Okay.
Well, there's
So-
only one dinosaur age.
What
Yeah.
the fuck is
Park.
happening? It's like a fucking fever dream.
Yes, it is. So they get out of the time machine in the
Alan.
Jurassic.
Alan.
Alan, wake up.
Wake
Huh?
up, Alan.
I
Oh
wish-
my God, it did exist.
So they get out of the time machine. They bump into more dinosaurs that are similar to the one that they evolved and
Yeah.
is now their friend.
Right.
And
Did they tell
these-
them,
did
hey,
these
you
ones
all
talk?
used to be fish?
they don't talk about that. What?
Do these ones talk? to
Yeah, they
them?
all talk. Oh no,
Oh.
all the dinosaurs could talk back
Like,
then.
hey, what are you doing?
No,
What
they're
are you
all
doing?
cool
What are
and
you?
friendly.
Oh, okay.
But they also like are afraid of them, and so they run from them, and because the idea is that like they're tribal.
The dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs are,
Right.
and so the dinosaurs, like anything that isn't part of our group, you know,
Right.
is an enemy.
Right. You look weird.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess because other things attack them.
Yes, but thankfully, because they evolved one of their own, who technically, since it's an evolutionary descendant of that fish, is also supposed to be part of this timeline.
Yeah.
This thing is actually one of them.
Oh, they remember him.
They
and
remember
stuff.
him and know him and stuff, and so he's able to communicate with them and get them to be on their good side.
Okay, Ethan, can we get a that's not how that works?
I mean, God is in this book, so if they want, they just be, oh, well, the God character made that make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, raptors show up and they attack the duckbills that they made friends with.
Right.
Then they all get naked and they jump back in the water again because it's just so much fun.
Let's just go back in the water, guys.
They find an otter, and that otter has babies, and then they take
Does
one
the
of
otter talk?
the otter does not, well, it eventually does talk because they need that otter to evolve.
Later on.
And later
okay.
on. So
Okay.
the otter does technically talk. But they're also like, God talks about how, the asteroids are coming and it's going to kill all these things. But like, that doesn't make me a bad person just because I killed these sentient talking dinosaurs.
Right.
And Mickey's like, no, it does, because like you're killing things.
Right.
And God's like, yeah, just because I'm killing them doesn't mean that that's bad or not part of the plan, and doesn't mean they don't live on and do other things. It doesn't mean that they have like dino heaven, but like it's part of the plan,
No.
and like don't dispute me. But also like I'm benevolent and I'm not arguing with you. So they take the otter and they get into the time machine, and Mickey really, really for some reason wants to watch the end of this civilization. She's like, no, like everyone's like, let's just leave. Let's just use the time machine and go
Right.
forward in time and get to where we need to go next, because now we're on like a pilgrimage with God.
But Mickey's
Right.
bloodthirsty.
Yeah, and she wants to. She's like, I gotta see this. I gotta see the
I
asteroid.
want extinction.
I gotta say, this is not where I thought this book was going.
No.
No! No, this is insane.
Yeah.
This
so,
is fucking madness.
So they do see like everything get destroyed and the ice age.
Oh
come
yeah, they
in.
see the asteroid.
That's right.
Cool.
And
Does the otter talk?
Eventually. Not in this issue.
Right.
But so they take the otter, they're going forward, and Mickey like learns her lesson about how sad that was and how they really shouldn't have seen that because it was really like depressing. But you know what? She needed to see it, and look at all these whales and stuff. Yay! And so they
And now horses.
right, exactly. And so finally,
Do me a favor. We're gonna cut here. I'm just gonna turn the camera off, and then we're gonna have technical difficulties. And all the issue can't come out anymore.
you deserve this. They end up 100,000 years BC,
Okay.
and the otter has become Wolverine.
The character Wolverine?
The character Wolverine, the first human teenager.
Shouldn't it have been a Wolverine then?
Yes, but it's an otter. So he's Wolverine, and they're like, "You're Wolverine," even though he looks nothing like.
He doesn't
Wolverine.
look like Wolverine
Yeah, he doesn't
but
have
at
mutton
all.
chops at all.
100,000 years ago, this is what he looked like.
Right.
He
He's
has less
shaved.
hair now as a caveman than he does as a Canadian.
That's right.
He shaved his face.
Which is
He's a
accurate.
caveman who shaved
Yeah.
with a razor. That didn't exist in 100,000 BC.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
So they loose him onto civilization, human civilization.
Does he have bone claws?
We have to assume he does, but he never actually pops them. Instead, he uses cudgels. But he gets to he runs into a hunting party, and they take down an elk, and then they all
Sweet.
feast and have a wonderful time. And he can speak English, and so can all the other original humans.
Right.
And Mickey tries to argue with them, where it's like, no, like early man was at war with the Neanderthals. Like there were different races of people, and they like one slaughtered the other, and so that's where we came from. And God's like, no, that is not what happened. Actually, what happened is there were no wars, and man learned at the dawn of man that
Because I told them.
because I told he's not involved. He just lets. He's a perfect clockwork maker.
He's
Right.
an absentee landlord.
All
He is that.
No, God like set things in motion.
Right. This is God is the clockmaker.
Exactly.
who-
But it also still is going according to plan.
Right.
And
Well, and also I can intervene because I am right now when I'm talking to you.
right, I'm intervening with you. I'm just showing you what's going on.
That's not
We also
God the
intervened
clockmaker.
with that
That's
fish
a different thing.
when we took that fish and evolved it.
Yeah. But then we
Yeah.
brought it to where it needed to be eventually when it would evolve to that point. So they're like, okay,
So
actually, what happened
Mm-hmm.
was they interbred,
okay.
and that there were never any wars, and that no human species in the beginning actually
Like
attacked each
humans
other.
didn't kill each other.
No, that there used to
In
be
the primal state, we were peaceful
That's right.
except animals.
That's right.
Oh yeah,
Where
we
is he
killed
getting
the
this
shit out
from?
of them.
Where indeed, his own theories, I think.
Yeah.
But
Who the fuck cares?
right, what are you doing? Trying to
This
make-
is Marville.
Welcome to Marville. You won't get this kind of heady, sophisticated, anthropologically sound stuff from a DC comic.
Yeah.
I don't want it from a Marvel
I don't want it
comic.
from anything, but
No.
like there was no such thing. There were wars, but they were more like sports, and they didn't like kill you. Like mankind would need to do this like to get it out of their system,
Yeah.
but it was more like whoever won a fight, that was who won. That was whatever side won the war.
Oh,
Yeah.
they just had Olympics.
Yes, they
Yeah.
played sports.
He's basing that on probably on like Native American tribes.
Yeah.
There were some of them that when they had wars, like they didn't really kill each other very
no,
much.
exactly.
So that's probably what he's basing that on.
Uh huh. So they
But
go.
that wasn't all.
No.
But
Don't
he's
give him
making a
any-
big leap
These
in
are
saying that this is what the world was like in
Uh-huh.
100,000. Like nobody knows,
Yeah.
man.
so they.
Well,
they-
Wolverine's very articulate.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. They jump ahead thousands of years to see that like Wolverine's still there, and now they've got tools, and they've got huts, and they got clothes and stuff like that. This is where we get the war story and what that's
Okay.
all about. And then we go forward in time some more, and we see Jesus.
And then of course the
popes,
book goes on.
And it's sort of a ride. And the whole and what's worse? The worst thing about it is that he does this, right? He says this already.
Yeah.
And then the next issue, he reiterates it all. Like, let's recap what just happened, what we learned. What did we learn from this journey through time with God?
Nothing. We learned nothing.
So issue 6 is, it's told from the first person perspective. What's the idea here? Cal AOL is talking to someone about everything he learned from his time in the year 5000 AD AD watching TV as a deadbeat 18-year-old to having been sent back in time by Ted Turner and Jane Fonda, his parents, to the year 2002 with his slobbery old dog, and he met Spider-Man and Batman and Punisher and Iron Man and Black Panther and God and 2 hot babes, and he hung out with them and they learned a lot. And we know that Mickey is a stupid atheist because she went to Rutgers. And that's literally in the book.
Oh my God.
And Lucy is a police officer who's also, monotheistic, and she's a smart one. And we went with God and we got naked.
And we got naked, but we didn't have sex.
We did not.
We just hung out.
Nope.
It was awesome.
And we learned a lot about war and man and Wolverine and dinosaurs.
And we learned that when God kills people,
yes,
or a age,
it's cool. It's
things,
okay. It's
no,
not
it's
his fault.
totally fine.
Don't
It's meant
blame
to
him.
happen.
Yeah. And essentially, the entire thing by this point is issue 6.
Right.
And it's 3 issues past the expiration date of the You Decide. We've decided.
Right.
It's a failure.
Yeah.
But I refuse to
It's a
accept
no,
it.
guys.
That's right. And so the last issue of the narrative, there's 7 issues of Marville.
Right.
It's not collected in this volume, but I will tell you what issue 7 is.
Okay.
Is Kal-El is pitching Marville to the comic book editor.
Oh.
And the comic book, because the book is actually about humanity, and it's trying to teach you something.
Yes.
About loving your fellow man, and like how tribalism is bad. And even though I literally am committing it by throwing stones at DC Comics in the first effing issue and page of that issue.
Oh,
Right.
no, that's not tribalism.
No, that's just playful ribbing. I'll have
all
fun.
good fun.
Yeah.
I'll come up with something for it.
So the editor, the unseen editor, the person who canceled this book, says, "Son, if it were up to me, I'd publish your book, but this will never sell." And Kal-El protests this, "But we're talking about world peace," and heads off into the exit. And then, because Bill Jemas doesn't understand subtlety, needs another page to explain to you what you just read and what's happening. And he's like, "Look, I knew that Marville was not going to sell." Bullshit.
You didn't,
But
you tried
No,
your
you
hardest.
didn't.
But because I'm the president of Marvel, I could ignore the bean counters and publish Marvel without regard for minimum sales projections and margin requirements. F you. You hold everyone else that standard, but I'm the president, so I get to have my vanity project.
Yep.
That's right.
No matter how stupid it is.
So then he goes on to say there's going to be one more issue of this series. There isn't. The 7th issue is a solicitation that proceeds to explain to you that he's launching a new imprint called Epic Comics. It's not a new imprint. They launched Epic Comics in the 80s, and it failed in the 90s. But he's launching it again, and that this book inspired him to try to greenlight and print headier, thought-provoking, non-superhero related comic books at Marvel, because he desperately is envious of Paul Levitz and DC Comics for being able to do it with Vertigo. Like, you can tell because in the first issue he's like, "Screw Paul Levitz, he's an idiot." And literally he says, like, he tries to explain to you like why we need Epic Comics. Like, why you, these creators out there who don't have a voice, why you need Epic Comics. And he says, Marvel publishes 45 comics a month, and our 10 authors can do 2 or 3 each. That leaves few openings for newcomers, for you, and it's only our superhero books that make any real money. So if you're trying to tell stories about undies on the inside kind of characters, you got to go elsewhere. But there isn't really a lot of options for you. You could try AOL Comics. But they have their own crock of favorite writers for their regular books. And they tend to avoid publishing anything that actually says anything. And I'm like, how dare you? How dare you say that to the publisher of Vertigo?
No, I'm saying things with this book.
Right.
This is important.
Yeah, Paul Levitz didn't waste paper, ink, and time and money to print this bullshit about like the origin of humanity.
Shut the fuck up.
If your books actually say anything, you are back to elsewhere. You could try Image, but they have their own financial limitations. They'll ask you to cover your own creative costs and printing costs. So this outlet is plugged into a life savings vacuum cleaner. You could try one of the indie publishers, but they can't even afford coloring or coated paper, so your graphic story won't even look very good.
It looked
Neither
like
did
shit
this.
without
So
color.
you could do an indie book, but it'll look like shit. But if you go with Epic, listen, if you go with Epic, you could get like $5,000.
$5,000.
What?
In his Epic issue, he breaks down like how much if you sell 100,000 copies, you can get $5,000. I'm like, that's not even a good ratio.
Oh my God.
That sucks.
How much does the leading comic book sell a month?
Like in 2003, 150, like between 150 and 200.
Yeah. There's no way.
There's no
a
way!
newcomer would ever sell 100,000
So
copies.
No!
here's how it works. If you sell 100,000 copies,
Yes.
that's 100,000 points. Then you can redeem those points
For Marvel Bucks.
for Marvel Bucks, which equal 1,000 points to 1 Marvel Buck.
That's right.
Or you could count it toward a trip to fucking Colonial Williamsburg. Or this Huffy bike.
Yeah, that's right.
You got this whole catalog
Yeah, we
of
got a whole catalog.
rewards to choose from.
That's right. That's right.
Also, what you can do is recruit
Other
people
creative
under
people.
you.
And the more people you bring in,
The more you get.
because you're going to be earning off of their sales.
Yeah, you get 10% of their sale.
Yeah.
You're only possibly me, and you know that I'm good for it.
Yeah, and all I do is I create the system.
Yeah, I
right? And then
create
you
the
work
system.
within that system. These very simple rules here.
Yeah.
And then you make money.
So if we make $300,000,
You can have five.
you get $5,000 of it.
That's right. I'm like, no,
What?
no one is going to take that deal,
Yeah, no.
and that's why Epic failed. Because
Well,
they
bro,
did,
I'm getting you in the door, man.
Yeah.
How else are you gonna get in the door?
Right. Like,
it's not about the money.
in
Don't
this-
focus on the money.
no, and
it's
don't
the
focus.
exposure.
Right, and you get the prestige of getting to write for Marvel Comics.
That's right.
You can write a Spider-Man comic, and despite the fact that I spent 6 issues talking about how stupid that is, and how creatively bankrupt that concept is,
And how no one should ever
Wanna do that?
Want to lower themselves to write for a comic
that's
company?
right. Yeah, yeah. Despite that, you should also carry that with you as like a badge of honor. This whole thing is just a giant, terrible vanity project that also, when he realizes how vain he is coming across and how no one's buying it, turns the damn thing into a sales pitch. And then the next thing was Trouble
Ah, yes.
from Mark Miller.
I was gonna say this reminds me.
Well, the Trouble covers
yes.
were evocative of the Bill Jemas standard.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but unlike Greg Horn art, they took photos. Worst thing ever. And it's not even a thing. Like, there's no closure on any of the characters.
No.
But there's no characters to have closure anyway, and they don't go anywhere or do anything. Like, the dialogue I've spared you from for the most part,
Yeah.
but the dialogue is reprehensible. It is pathetic. The room has better dialogue.
Ugh. This is horrible.
Horrible.
Why did you make us do this?
Remember this?
No.
Well, payback!
I guess.
You got me, and now I got you.
Yeah, you had to read it in order to do this.
Well, you had to hear about it.
We did. We
guess.
got the very broad end of this.
You did.
Yeah. No, I guess you got us.
Yeah. Ha 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 ha! Payback!
Yeah. Okay.
Marville. This
How long did Jemas stay in charge?
few years, like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But what's funny about that is that he would be unceremoniously fired thanks to Avi Arad, because Bill Jemas greenlit a really controversial moment in a book that like barely 50,000 people were buying, called Ecstatics, which is a good book, but like I digress. In which they would they proposed that they resurrect Princess Diana as a zombie. And for whatever reason, that
What?
like really upset people, especially people in Hollywood, and they caught wind of it, and it like made Marvel look like an insensitive, like out of touch corporation, which Avi Arad felt personally wronged by, because he's like, do you understand how much I've been trying to convince these Hollywood bastards to let me into their exclusive club, and then you just cost me my like seat in the kingdom. And so Bill Jemas was like phased out because he had a temporary contract, but they would move him. It was great because like first they removed him from having any editorial or story input at all in any way. So his role as like president was mostly superficial. Like he had the title, and then they moved his office further down the hall, far away from any goings-on at the company. And so when he wasn't working at home, he had to go to like his dungeon at Marvel Comics, and then he was phased out entirely. But like they didn't just kick him to the curb; they removed all his responsibilities and any opportunity he could take to be creative, and then they fired him. And then he left and tried to Rosetta Stone the ancient texts from the Old Testament, and that worked out really well for him.
Oh yeah, no, we hear about that all the time nowadays.
It's true. Yeah, he's a legend. But he was fired.
Avi Arad also turned out to be crap.
Yeah, but we all knew that already. The problem was he's an Oscar winner now. But what's amazing is it wasn't this. It wasn't like
this
Marvel
isn't
went,
what did it.
Duh!
Right. They were like,
They
no,
kept
that's
him
fine.
around. Now that being said, like
You can't just kick out the president of the company for
because he
writing a
made
bad
a
book.
bad book. I don't know. That's
you're
like,
a comic company. You should be able to do that.
I mean, that's like the main thing you do.
But this was his first one.
Yeah. Right. Maybe after no. Oh no, he like.
I'd love it if they're just like, that was so bad, you never get another shot.
I mean, he didn't. Like, he did. He tried to, like, rewrite Mark Waid's scripts for that Fantastic Four book. Like, he wrote the script that Mark Waid didn't want to write, and he was like, what the bye. So, it's just a nightmare. It's a disaster. And it's a book that I promised we'd never do, which is another reason why it happened.
I'm reading some of this dialogue.
Oh, yeah. The first issue has the worst
It's
dialogue.
clear that nobody edited this.
Right.
No
one edited it.
You can't edit the president.
I'm
the president.
There's just mistakes.
Yes, that's right.
There's just
That's right.
sentences that aren't like sentences.
No. It is. I think incredible to see and behold, because this is the room. Like it's somebody with no oversight, but all control. I feel really bad for Mark Bright, who had to draw the damn thing.
Yeah.
And who has a message to tell and doesn't know what that message is.
Exactly. Wants to be deep, isn't.
I feel bad for the letterer
Yeah.
who had to write this stuff, because the artist could say like, well, I don't know what words he's gonna put on this. I
That's
just
true.
know what he told me to draw.
Yeah.
Which is like stupid.
Well, he gets the
but,
dialogue. He can see what they're gonna say.
Oh,
but,
well.
Yeah, no, I
It's
feel
still
bad.
But
terrible.
you can figure like, oh, it's rough. They'll clean it up.
They have to, right? This is
And
the
then
first pass.
and then you look at it, and you get sentences like this. Here is revelation number 5. The plants that survive now can breathe again and will continue to grow and evolve, and they are happy.
Yes. I had to read this damn thing cover to
It's like
cover.
written by like a
Yeah,
5-year-old.
no, it's true.
We learned our lesson. No more fart bags.
That's right. See you next week.
There were no winners this week.
No one won.
We all
Only
lost.
losers.
Well,
So I guess
apparently
you're a
he was
monster, too.
convinced he was going to win because he said that Peter David lost the writing contest to him.
That's right.
He says that in the comic?
Yeah.
Yes.
But he didn't.
But he didn't.
He actually won, handedly.
Why did you think you would beat him?
Because he's an egomaniac.
Because I put a sexy lady on the cover.
Yeah.
I thought
Every
that's
cover
what
had a
I was
sexy
doing.
lady on it. It's insane.
That is.
I know. Madness!